According to Harvey Mackay, every morning brings new potential, but if you focused on the misfortune of the day before, you tend to overlook the tremendous opportunities that the day brings. And of course, I know yesterday is gone. I don't know what you went through yesterday, but can we just say bye to yesterday and focus on the tremendous opportunity that today has to offer? And of course, this is Good Morning Abuja, and I am Rehab Ukwe. With me in the studio this morning is our beautiful
I
Aisha.
am Aisha Kari Sharif. It's a beautiful morning, but do you know that a little positive small thought can change your whole day?
Also, we will be having Ephraim Audu, who is an economist, and he'll be talking to us on the recently released gross domestic product and its impact on the FCT resident and, of course, on Nigeria. Right now, we want to discuss something that is very important, not only to Abuja residents, but to Nigeria and to the whole world at large. Have you heard the sentence that mental health is not a destination, but a process? And also, the best journey is actually the journey within. Today, we'll be looking at the stereotype around mental illness right here in FCT and, of course, in the whole Nigeria. And to talk about this with us this morning, we have an amazing young man who is doing incredibly well in this organization or in his initiative. He is the founder of the Mandate Health Initiative right here in the FCT. And I'm talking about Zion Ame. Ame, right?
Yes.
I got the name right.
Yeah, you get
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
you're welcome on the program.
Well, thank you very much for
Good
having
morning,
me.
sir.
It's
Thank you.
good. It's good. It's actually good to have you.
I appreciate it. Thanks. It's my
You're
pleasure
welcome.
being here. Thank you.
Yeah. To start with, can you tell us what the whole initiative is all about? This
Okay.
non-governmental organization, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot for having me. Like I said, it's really always a pleasure to talk about mental health because this is a subject matter that not only it's not being prioritized, it's less discussed. People give less attention to it as though it doesn't exist. And just how we can deny our physical health, the same way we can't deny mental health. I mean, it's just a component of health that must be recognized and discussed. So, for us at the Mandate Health Empowerment Initiative, I mean, we're just celebrating our 6th year,
Oh,
and
congratulations.
yeah, we're actually
Oh,
just celebrating the 6th year right now across 11 states. We're going into like about 15 communities in these 11 states to do what we call community mental health care. It's an outreach that is being championed by us, and we're also partnering with other organizations to ensure that not only are we sensitizing the public on mental health, but we're also trying to like provide some form of care, some form of psychosocial support to the public, especially those ones at the grassroots. So for us, we began the journey in 2014,
okay.
from some very personal experiences, and then 2015, we got registered with CAC,
Okay.
and then we started working, right? So we have two major areas where we're working,
So,
right?
tell me, are you a doctor
I know I'm
or
not
a
in the,
health worker?
no, 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 no. I'm actually not anywhere. My profession, my career is not anywhere close to the health.
But
But I've just find myself in the past 7 years in this health sector because of the huge gap that I not only that I believe, but that exist in our dear country, Nigeria, and that is also common across the African continent. So and that is mental health,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a huge problem, is a
okay.
huge without mental health. I mean, health in totality is not going to be in
But
view.
then, why did you choose that path of
Yeah.
mental health?
Yeah, all right. Interesting. So why I actually chose the part of mental health after I came back from India 2011. I got married in 2012, right? And then after then, of course, what you'll expect from an early African marriage
Yeah.
is children and
Children.
things like
Yes.
that,
Mm,
So after like few months, I mean, very happily God did it, and then my wife was pregnant. So messages, things like that. But after 7 months, where we had bought things for the babies and everything,
Can
and she
imagine.
keeps out of excitement, she keeps checking them every day. She brings them
mm.
And you
out
can
as
you
if,
can't even find any way to have the baby. You can't wait.
and then after some time at the 7th month, she began complaining about some pains. And then before we could say what's up, what's happening, we lost that baby to preterm.
So sorry about that.
And then, I mean, it was very, very traumatic. It was a serious tragedy that not only I myself could contain, not my wife, not our immediate family members, because I mean, there was so much expectation, from that being the only son of the family, and so it's really devastated the whole family, immediate and extended family. That's not the end of the story.
Yeah.
She got pregnant again, second time, 2014, and the same thing again. This time around, 6 months,
Oh.
heading to the 7 months. I mean, and as at this time now, we had to change facility because people
Okay.
kept giving different advices.
Yeah.
You need to change. You need to do
Yeah.
this.
That's
I
a
mean,
normal thing from
oh my
family
God,
members.
catalogs of advices from parents, So we did change facility, but it didn't help. So this second one again happened. So when this second one happened, I was practically saying that I was losing my wife. So it was not just about that preterm that I lost the baby, but then my wife that I was saying that I was living with in the home, I was practically saying that I was beginning to live with a stranger. I was beginning to see that she was totally different. We tried to see how we could manage it. We again changed facility, and then they said, okay, they need to do recyclage, they need to do some procedures, and then we said, okay, fine. So we went ahead, we did it after she got pregnant the third time. So we did all the medical, advices, all the counsel they gave. But then, after sometimes again, we got to the 7th month. Now, this time around, I could perceive anxiety. I could perceive fear. I could
Yeah.
perceive a lot of unrest in her. So
because
I
she'll be traumatized
Honestly.
over time.
honestly, so I was like, God, what do I do? So I mean, a lot of prayers, a lot of counsel. And then 7 months came, and then it passed. We're so excited. We got to the 8th month, the same kind of pain started again. And then this time around, I was not home. So I said, okay, please quickly go to the head facility and see. I called the gynecologist. I said, okay, this is what's happening. Please, before she was placed on bed rest in the hospital. So we're there for like 2 weeks. So I was excited because, I mean, the more we're there, the closer we're getting. So we're like, okay, I think this time around we got this stuff. But then at the 8th month, I can remember about 2 a.m., the pain came and she was bleeding constantly. And then the pain came severely. And I practically tried reaching the chief gynecologist to tell him, look, please remove this cyclage and get this baby out, whether alive or dead. I need my wife, right? Because, I mean, the pain, the best I can describe it is as if they were peeling her skin off. So, and that's one of the things that you can relate with mental health. Though you can't physically see it, but the pain is there. The invisible injury, the invisible wound that you can't see, you can actually behold it, you can touch it, but it's really there. And I was like, okay, I think, please get out this.
So finally, what now happened that brought you here?
Honestly, so I apologize for taking time on this. It's a story that I really like
we
to
can
share
actually
so that people can relate with
I'm
it.
sorry,
and
you will tell me more of this when this show is over.
I will.
right?
I will.
Let's
So that's what
just get
happened, and
there.
then we just lost our baby again to preterm, and then that was like the final bus stop. I was totally losing my wife also. I mean, she could just wake up at middle of the night, request that I bring the baby. She could just say so many things, and I was like, oh my God, how do I manage this? And then I was like, we had to go to several hospitals, but nobody was saying anything about mental health. And then we kept checking.
So was her
kept doing-
condition, was it any connection between her condition and any mental health that got you into doing this? That is what we want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly, because all of the symptoms since you and signs she was displaying were clear cause of mental illnesses. But because I do not have the prior knowledge of this, I was expecting that the facilities we kept changing and visiting, they should be able to tell us something and refer us to a mental health facility, but that never happened. Right? So I now started reading more about it and trying to know some of the signs and the symptoms, and then what are some of the immediate care
So
one
what
can
are the
offer.
immediate,
Right?
as in, how can you tell if such person is going through mental illness?
Fantastic. Okay, like I did mention earlier, you will see that you actually practically see that the person is in pain. You can't explain what
But you know, in
exactly is
some
wrong.
cases, a lot of people you would not
May
be able
not
to
be in
tell.
pain, like physical
Some
pain.
people can
Yes,
hide their
yes.
pain.
So there, yeah, that's another thing again we need to talk about. You need to be true to yourself. When we want to talk about mental health, please be real to yourself. One of the first line of definition of mental health by WHO is that you need to identify yourself. You need to identify your personality. You need to identify your abilities. You need to know yourself. Second line for the definition of mental health by WHO tells us that you also need to come up with coping mechanisms to deal with daily or normal stress. Third line for the definition of mental health by WHO tells us that, look, guys, you need to be productive. And then the fourth line for the definition of mental health is that you need to contribute. So the first two lines is what I'm going to be looking at to respond to your question. Once you're able to identify and know yourself, and you're able to come up with coping mechanisms, please be real to yourself, right? It's okay you deceive people, but when you start deceiving yourself, something's wrong. And like I said, there is no any other of health, perfect health, without mental health in place. So please, when you begin to see signs of weaknesses, loss of interest to things that you like to do, loss of appetite to food or too much of food, or maybe you're beginning to sleep or oversleep, or you have distortion to or passion to things that you used to like to do, or you begin to withdraw, or you begin to keep to yourself, or you begin to keep quiet, right? You begin to get moody. Please, all of these signs are very critical. Let's not just overlook them. It means that something is wrong. Okay. Another thing you need to look at again is that if your feelings are distorted,
Yeah.
if your emotions are distorted, and you find out that some behaviors you are beginning to exhibit that are not within the confines of your normal you, that something is wrong.
Okay. Um, we are actually pressed for time because the way you're talking, I'm enjoying
think
it, and I'm learning something new. And I actually wish you continue. I wanted to ask a question, but time wouldn't permit that. I wanted to look at the estimates were like 181 million, and then it's been estimated that 30% of the great population may suffer from mental health. Do you agree to that? In one sentence, then
Yeah.
give your final advice to
Okay.
the viewer while we get this
All right,
done.
all right. Thanks, viewers, for still being with us. I want to totally agree with that. As a matter of fact, if you look at the risk factors and the predisposing causative factors of mental health in Nigeria, that percentage should be higher at this moment. And again, another interesting thing I would like to say quickly, it's not only that maybe 1 in 4 will suffer from mental illness in Nigeria, but the interesting thing that I would like our viewers to know is that when this particular population, or if this particular population suffer from mental illness, is there facility, is there a health provision, is there a care that is being provided either at the tertiary, secondary, or at the primary level to look out for the mental health of Nigerians? The answer is no, right? So this is again something that we need to talk about, okay, because the issue of mental health care in Nigeria, we need to talk about it. We can't oversize on it, and that's why the Nigerian Lunacy Act of 1958 is being presently the repeal is presently going on in the Ninth National Assembly, and has passed the third reading at the Senate. It's moved to the Green Chambers, and I can guarantee you that if this passes through, the act comes out before the end of the Ninth National Assembly, the issue of mental health reforms, that is the plan for mental health policy and regulation, will be in place, and then care.
Thank
Okay,
you
the
I think
so
cost
much.
Mr.
will
Thank
Amir,
just
I'm telling
we
you,
should
be
redo
there.
this again.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so much
Ahmed
for coming.
Zion,
Yeah.
Abba, for coming on this program. I see that this is what you're very passionate about, because you are not even thinking, you are flowing, and then we're lost in the flow. And I know that the viewer are also enjoying this aspect. This is something that we should pay attention to. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you once again for sharing your thoughts
Thank
with
you
us.
so much,
And we
Mr.
have
Amir,
been
for the
speaking
information.
with Ahmed Zion Abba, who is the founder of Mandate Health Empowerment Initiative. And like you've heard from him, it is good for us to take care of our mental health, just as we take care of our body when we have a signs of fever and we rush to the hospital. When you see some signs in your body that you don't like, in terms of depression, you're keeping to yourself more than you should do, please visit, the appropriate channel so that you can get yourself treated. Let's remove the stereotype of mental health, because it is something that is very, very important to us. Right about now, we'll be taking a break.
If you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Abuja on NTA Channel 5. Well, we have Iprem Audu, an economist from a founder of Padfa Foundation. He was here last week and he's here again today to talk to us more on GDP. You're welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Nigeria.
Wade.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank
Abdul,
you.
right?
Yes, please.
You're welcome.
So, welcome,
you.
sir. It's good to have you again.
Yeah, same here.
Well, so to the layman, what is GDP?
GDP it's an aggregate of consumption, investment, expenditures, both private investment, private consumption, household consumption,
Okay.
Okay.
government spendings. All right,
Mm.
put together minus net export.
Okay.
By net export here, we are talking about uh, export minus import. So the aggregate. In other words,
To the layman,
GDP.
Mr.
Yeah.
Mr.
In other words, to the layman,
Yeah.
GDP can be total national income
Mm-hmm.
plus uh, depreciation. Okay. Total sales tax,
Okay.
then minus net export.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Audu, recently the government released, the GDP, that's the gross domestic product of the second quarter. What does this mean to the layman?
Well, GDP, the gross domestic product, is one of the major strong instruments
Okay.
that it is being used to determine the strength of any economy.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so now the International Monetary Fund
Mm.
have a benchmark of 2.5%.
Okay.
That is to say, every country,
Mm.
for it to have relative stability,
Mm.
need to attain its GDP at both what 2.5%.
Mm.
So now, due to the COVID-19 pandemic,
Yeah.
the IMF just recently reviewed it downward to
Mm.
2%.
Okay.
All right. So now, as you rightly asked, recently, the federal government, through the National Bureau of
Yeah.
Statistics,
Statistics.
they are released the review
Mm.
of the current update on GDP.
Mm.
Okay.
And so far, some of us as economists, we analyze GDP based on the GDP deflector.
Okay.
Yeah, where you talked about the nominal GDP and as well the real GDP.
Okay.
So now the deflector is being determined by nominal GDP divided by the real GDP times 100.
Okay.
It's perhaps a little bit technical, but these
Mm.
are major factors to be considered.
Mm. Mm.
Okay.
So far, we have seen tremendous improvement. There are tremendous growth,
Okay.
meaning that the Nigerian economy is gradually responding.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I think year on year, the GDP as at second quarter of 2021
Mm.
is 5.01%
Okay.
So
in
it has
real
increased.
in real terms.
Okay,
Mm.
so you are just mentioning these figures. The layman watching will be asking,
Yeah.
what is my benefit in this? So
Okay.
how does FCT residents benefit from this gross domestic product that just been released?
Yeah, when the gross domestic, the positive impact or implication here,
Yeah.
it's there are chances of job creation.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there are chances of strong purchasing power,
Mm.
Okay.
even in terms of per capita income.
Okay.
Okay.
It will also reduce this inequality in
Okay.
terms of poverty rate. May a little bit, there will be reduction in poverty rate, reduction in unemployment rate, including the hunger and starvation. Then the the abject poverty
Mm.
that we experience due to the COVID-19
Yeah.
pandemic.
Mm.
This report, in translation, and if
Mm.
properly managed,
Yeah.
it should be able to alleviate the plight.
So we say
Okay,
this is
so
good
the-
news. This is good news to the public, right?
Well, absolutely.
Good news for the public.
Absolutely.
So what are the factors that are driving this goal?
Say that again.
What are the factors that are driving this, the goal of the GDP?
Okay,
the
perfect.
sectors
Yeah,
that
the
are
sector.
Yeah,
driving
you
it.
see, first of all, so far, Nigerian economy basically is majorly dependent on oil.
Okay.
But I want to assure you that is going down the drain. All right, the service sector is currently contributing about 53.2%.
No, that's
So
good.
here we are talking about the ICT, the health, normal trade, service sector, hospitality, and all that. Education, good 52%. Then industry, here
Okay.
we are talking about perhaps the manufacturing sector, including agriculture and all that. Put together is within the range of 23-26%, while other sectors and put together oil sector, of course, less than 10%. So now, as you can see, the government have to re-strategize the plan. The attention and priority has been given to the oil sector. So it's obvious in this second quarter of 2021, other sectors have given us this positive.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And like you said, one of the sector that is actually driving this is the agriculture that you mentioned, not the so much, crave for the oil, So looking at the contribution of agriculture in this, can we take a look, a bit at the food insecurity and its impact on Nigeria and especially on Abuja residents?
Well, from the statistics I mentioned earlier, you will believe with me that I wasn't emphatic on agriculture.
Okay.
It was deliberate.
Okay.
Okay, though prior to this moment, agriculture contribute larger quota in terms of national income, adding value to the GDP and all that. But in the recent time, due to the activities of banditry, climate change, terrorism, perhaps even inconsistency of policy and all that in terms of agricultural stuff. There is a kind of absolute decline, not relative decline.
but does it really affect the FCT more, or should I say other states?
Talking about agriculture, you begin to analyze the chain of from the cultivation, all right?
Okay.
And you and I know very well that in the FCT there are relative farm activities going on compared to other states across the northern Nigeria, most especially. So most of these locations are badly affected. Okay, so now the chain reaction is also affecting the FCT because most of those products are being transported.
From across,
Okay, of course, I give it to them, the indigens, and quite a lot in FCT. They are doing a lot. Go to Kuje, Gwagwalada, Abaji, you see massive farming. But it does not commensurate with the percentage or the demand alongside the supply of the FCT indigens. So now a lot has to be done. A lot has to be done. Most especially food security. There are other new technologies that are emerging. Okay, so now gone with those days that you cultivate the 50 hectares of land that you end up dining and whining with the bandit as a result of the large space of in your farm. The greenhouse farming is in vogue. Okay, where within a reasonable number of space, you can generate tons of yield. Okay, so now where 10 hectares or 1 hectare in an open farm can give you 1 hectare can give you maybe 6-7 tons. 2,000 square meter of greenhouse farming can give you more than same tons. So so far what we are currently doing is to sensitize the people and also recommend to the government Okay, so that so much should be attention should be diverted through the greenhouse farming.
Okay.
We also have other technologies like we have what you call the aquaponics and the hydroponics farms. Where so much values are being added in form of greenhouse or other in a very secured environment, thereby not exposing you to the danger of banditry, climate change, flood, and all that.
And in doing that, it means that we still have our food, we have our agricultural produce,
Excellent.
More
and
more
high
of it.
high yield.
We
That's
have
the
high yield.
model
So
of
when
Israel.
we move to the green,
Okay,
house,
absolutely. Israel today, they are one among the big shots in agriculture.
So
That's the method they adopted.
that's all we have for now, Mr. Audu. Thank you so much for coming to the studio.
Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Well, we've been speaking to Mr. Ephraim Audu, an economist who spoke to us on what GDP is and the food security in Nigeria and its impacts on the country. It's been a wonderful day, seriously a wonderful day. We've talked with Mr. Ami, who spoke to us about mental health. This is something very important to the nation, and especially FCT. What's your take on that?
And one thing about this program, at the end of the day, we always have something in our hand, in our head, and something in our heart to go home with. For me, I learned a lot from the mental health experts, that is Ahmed Zion. I learned a lot because I never knew that sometimes when you withdraw, it could be a sign of, something could be wrong, and then we're quick to go and check if you had a fever, but then nobody wants to check if you can just say,
you don't
I'm
want
depressed.
the stigma of that, and then you don't want to accept that you have issues up there. If I can put it that way.
Have issues up
No,
there?
but you don't want to accept it, because if you accept it, that means the next person knows you have issues. I think that's the reality of it.
But then it then means that we should quit the stereotype, so that people can boldly come out to say, this is wrong with me and I need help. It's good for us to admit help when we need the help. I hope you, dear viewer, you have enjoyed your time with us. Aside the mental health advocate, I also had fun, watching and listening, dancing to Lagbaja's song today. It brought back those memories when Lagbaja used to be, the theme of the day. I want to say a very special thank you for sharing with us in this episode of Good Morning Abuja today. I hope your time with us today was worth the while. Thank you so much once again. I am Rehab Okwe. It is good morning and it is bye for now.
And I'm Aisha Kari Sharif. Have a good day.
Mama jẹ́ ṣera mi léṣe sí ẹ lọ́rùn, bébí o, àbò fẹ́ gborúkọ. Because of you, I fit to close your my account pátápátá. Hey, mama gbó.